Picture this. You land in Thailand late at night and hop in a taxi to take you to your hotel. It takes a little longer than you expected as you wind through the unfamiliar streets. Finally, you arrive, but when you go to pay, the driver is demanding twice as much than is on the meter. Before you know it, he started shouting at you and people are beginning to gather around. What would you do? Well, this actually happened to me on one of my first visits to the country. And it ended up being one of the most embarrassing moments in my entire time in Thailand. In this video, I'll show you the mistakes that I made that quickly escalated the situation, as well as the simple tricks to get out of any awkward situation in Thailand. So I'm going to explain how this situation got a lot more embarrassing for me. But what I'm really ashamed of is that I've spent the majority of the last 5 years, almost 2,000 days in Thailand. But I speak almost none of the language. It's not even that I'm bad at languages. I actually studied Spanish at university and went on to learn it to a high level. And after 4 years in China, I passed the HSK4 exam. So my Chinese isn't too bad either. So I know how useful it would have been in the taxi situation. But I have since had to learn how to navigate these difficult situations without the use of the Thai language. And you'd be surprised how often it can occur. So let's take a look at the mistakes that I made with a taxi driver that escalated the situation so quickly. We've already established that I don't speak Thai. So I'm going to use Chinese, which I'm assuming most people watching don't speak. Let's take a look to see if you can understand what I'm saying.
我想买10瓶啤酒。
What about now?
我想买10瓶啤酒。
Or now?
我想买10瓶啤酒。
What about now?
我想买10瓶啤酒。
Speaking in slow-mo, shouting, or whatever the hell that last one was, isn't going to help anyone. And it will just make you look like a crazy person. Trust me, I know. This is the land of smiles after all. And in Thai culture, a smile isn't just a way to show you're happy. It's a tool to diffuse a situation and show respect. Looking back, the biggest mistake I made in that taxi wasn't raising my voice or failing to simplify my language. It was that I didn't show respect. Instead, I got frustrated, which made the driver lose face. And in Thai culture, that's a big deal. So how can you avoid making things worse? Here are a few simple communication tips that I've learned. Tip 1. You don't need to use fancy words. Most ideas can be conveyed with just 2,000 basic words. Just keep it simple and skip the thesaurus. Tip 2. If you're struggling to communicate, just say what you need in as few words as possible. Tip number 3. Your hands are your best tools. Point at things, show numbers with your fingers, or use universal gestures like thumbs up or a wave. Let's go back to the sentences I said earlier in Chinese, this time with a few simple gestures.
我想买10瓶啤酒。
That's right, you guessed it. I want to buy 4 bottles of beer because I'm an alcoholic. So mistake number 2 was not simplifying the language enough so that I could be understood. But the next mistake is the most embarrassing by far. Let me tell you what happened next. After I refused to pay, things escalated quickly. The driver started shouting and I had no idea how to get out of this situation. To make matters worse, people began crowding around us. I started to panic and I wondered if I was actually going to get into a fight here. Eventually, someone came over to translate. Turns out the extra charges were highway tolls, an airport taxi fee, and a luggage tariff. At the time, this sounded like bullshit to me. I mean, how can you charge extra for luggage at an airport? But I ended up paying up and walking away. But in the years since, I found that all of those fees are real and that I was completely in the wrong. I made an embarrassing public scene because I wasn't aware of the rules. And the mistake here is assuming bad intentions. Here's the thing, before coming to Thailand, I watched countless YouTube videos and read blogs about scams. But let me tell you a little problem that I've since learned with Thailand travel YouTube in particular. A lot of people can be a bit nervous about traveling to Thailand for the first time, so they're more likely to click on videos about scams or the dangerous aspects of traveling. And I think a lot of creators realize that the videos about scams do well. So they make more videos about scams where people become more paranoid. So they watch more videos about scams, which means more YouTubers make videos about scams. This can give the impression that Thailand is a dangerous place, which is simply not true. I bet when I started this video, you'd assumed it was going to be about me getting scammed, but that wasn't the case. In fact, after my time here, I've seen the country is extremely safe. There's very little violent crime or robbery, and because it's a Buddhist culture, there's a belief in karma, so it's important to give out goodwill and kindness. I can't tell you the amount of times I've lost my phone, and the person who found it has gone well out of their way to help me get it back. That's not to say that scams don't exist, and unfortunately, tourists are a target because they know it's unlikely that they'll follow up with the police, but I just don't think they happen anywhere near as much as it's sometimes made out to. And if you think about this situation from the driver's point of view, he paid these highway tolls out of his own pocket. If I hadn't paid, he would have lost out money for dropping me off at my hotel. And on top of that, I'm trying to accuse him of trying to rip me off. I'd be pissed off too. This experience taught me not to assume bad intentions, and it's something I've seen other travelers struggle with as well. For example, some guided tours don't include national park fees in the prices. When travelers find out, they assume they're being scammed, when really, they just didn't read the fine print on the tour. But it's the year 2025, damn it. We're living in a time when rocket ships land themselves, you can have drones do your shopping for you, and AI can write novels, and probably will take your job by the end of the year. Technology is solving problems we didn't even know we had. And here's how it can keep you out of trouble in Thailand. So the most obvious function that I think most people are aware of at this point is Google Translate. But what happens if you don't have a SIM card or no internet access when you arrive in the country? Well, what most people don't know is that you can download the Thai language pack before you arrive so that the app can translate for you without the need for the internet. This can be especially useful for your first few days if you don't have a SIM card or you get lost in a remote area. But the major problem with Google Translate is that it lacks a bit of nuance. It's very difficult to translate with the exact tone you're looking for, and sometimes it can come across a bit too direct, making you sound like a bit of a dick. I mean, when I type in, "Why is the price high?"
Why is the price so high?
It can sound a bit accusatory, which might have made the driver want to actually take a swing at me. That's why I'm more and more turning to ChatGPT for my translations. What I like most is that you can actually specify the tone of voice that you're trying to convey, which will make it use a better word choice rather than just directly translating.
Can you politely ask the taxi driver why the price is so high in Thai?
To politely ask a taxi driver why the price is so high in Thai, you can say ขอโทษนะครับ ครับ พี่คนขับ ทำไมราคาถึงแพงขนาดนี้ครับ ขอโทษนะ
On top of that, the voice functions sound a little nicer too. But here's the most important thing that I've learned about situations like this in Thailand. It's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. I've experienced it firsthand myself. Sometimes I've had a complaint, for example, if my hotel room wasn't up to scratch, and the staff will usually start by smiling and offering a little why, which is like a polite bow. They might actually have no intention of helping you solve the problem, but it's surprisingly disarming. But whilst this mistake almost cost me my teeth, it's not the biggest mistake you can make when visiting Thailand. Watch this video here to find out how most people ruin their Thailand trip before it's even began.